Welcome to Center of Light. Keith Anthony Blanchard here. Remember, this is the game. This is the aim that we want to experience ongoingly. Welcome to Center of Light, Center of Divine Unfoldment Reinforcement. Strap in my brother and sister astral knots as we launch for inner space. If Center of Light resonates with you and has supported you throughout the years, please support my effort. There's a donate link. I am contributing now for all the work I've been doing. Helps me to stay alive in this way. Also, right now, Homecoming Crossing the Bridge to the Soul, my brand new release, which is this book you see right here, is doing very well. It's still in the charts, holding its own. It's a fluctuation game. Right now, it achieved number 6 in the UK so far, which is bestseller status. So thank you for your support. Really, really soon, real soon, at least in a month, probably sooner. Those who have supported my work in this endeavor of homecoming for this campaign, I made a promise to you, and that promise is I'm going to be doing a workshop called Crossing the Bridge to the Soul, and I'm going to push. But for those who have been contributing to this beautiful lifelong work of mine, I know who you are. I will be contacting you soon. And if you think it's you because you went the extra mile, then it is you. And you will get a message from me giving you the details, the whens and the whys and the wheres and the hows and what's going to come from it, what you can expect. Don't expect anything, but expect everything. I'm going to push. I'm going to push really hard because that's what you want me to do. I like when people push me in ways that I need. So as a springboard, as someone who can see, so I would say, at least more than I did many years ago, we're going to hang out. We're going to have fun. We're going to make love. We're going to make some love, y'all. That love can be tough sometimes. If I hear you telling me something you want, I'll listen to it 3 or 4 times, 5 at most. And then I'm going to pick you up and throw you in the moving river. If you're not following through with said thing. 1, it could be because you're comfortable. 2, because you don't understand what it takes. Obviously, it's beautiful. It's all part of a beautiful unfoldment. And maybe that's what I'm here to do, is just simply nudge you where you have not found the way to nudge yourself. So there's going to be lots of nudging going on. So Crossing the Bridge to the Soul workshop is coming very soon to those who have participated in your beautiful way. The link is in the forum. Feel free to jump seat through that hyperlink. As we move through hyperspace, go to Amazon.com, order Homecoming, which is now available. It's a 2-part series. Second book, I don't know what the title's going to be, but it's going to be juicy. Homecoming, we're crossing the bridge together. We're holding hands. We're skipping to the loo, my darling. Right? So I have no doubt that book number 2 is going to be that very pushing. Well, Keith, doesn't spirituality require not? I totally get it. We've been lollygagging and chilling out a little bit too long. Have you not? Unless you're just that peaceful person, that guy, that girl, then contact me and push me. Tell me what you're doing that makes you so blissful. Because you can believe the fact that if you told me you found God under a rock yesterday, I'm not going to go look out of disbelief to see if you're just full of horseshit. I'm going to go look because I want the same thing you found, right? So Center of Light Radio, again, support my efforts. If I have been resonating with you, this platform, my guests like Brian D. Hardin tonight, we're going to be speaking about how to save the world in one easy lesson kind of guest. It helps me to stay alive. It shows me that you are alive, that you're with me, and we're in this together, and love has won. Let me tell you about my guest tonight, Brian D. Hardin. He's not really the bio kind of guy. So let me just put it this way. He's sexy as all get out. You're going to love him immediately. He's made a lot of movies, hung around a lot of Native Americans, many different tribes. He's produced many gold albums, and he is my bro ham sandwich. Bro, yo, welcome to Center of Light, as always.
Did my mom write that for you? I think my mom wrote it for you. That's fantastic.
Hey, brother, how are you?
I've I think everybody on the planet feels the same way. We're fantastic and better than we've ever been, and we're also worse than we've ever been, and confused and frustrated and
How
everything.
beautiful is that?
Yeah,
Isn't that really the gumbo everybody wants to eat out of?
yeah. I mean, really, every crisis is an opportunity for us to learn and grow. So we're
Yeah.
having crisis, and at the same time, when you learn and grow, you're having the greatest time of ever. And this is forcing all of us to work in community in a different way. Don't you agree? Yeah. And so, I'm actually connecting. In the past 2 weeks, I must have had five or so people that I haven't talked to in 20 years call me up and say how much I meant to them. And I felt the same way, that my relationship with them from 20 years ago was important in my life. And, it's good to realize that at any part of your age, in any day. So I think part of this whole crisis that we're going through is forcing us to look at things that really make us all happy. Do you agree? Yeah.
Absolutely. We can't expect, and it is truly, and I think you would agree with this, it's truly a new world, and we're not even stepping into it yet. We're still in the house. So in
Yeah.
other words, it's like someone's building your house, right? You and your spouse has got a brand new house. It's being erected. And you can only go into it just to see how it's coming along, but you can't really fully move, metaphorically and literally move into it. And you can't wait. And you can't wait. In fact, it's beautiful and it's scary at the same time because you don't know how you're going to function in that house. How you're going to hang all the pictures exactly. I mean, just all this dynamic of this transformation. So we have to become, as I always say, Brian, so crystal clear because it's going to require vulnerability to move into this new world because the people we knew, and I use that word on purpose, the people we knew, not that we know, that we knew, were all dead. And now we're coming out of the cave differently. And those who have done the work have exponentially got their self together. So they're prepared because when you see your friend in a club and you want to go say hi, it's not the same person and you're not the same person to them completely. So yeah, it's exciting. It's nerving. What a great time to be alive.
Hmm. So how has your life changed? How have you improved it? How have you focused it and fine-tuned it? In what ways? Did I lose you? Oh, there we go. You got a kitty.
That's one way. This is truly transforming me. Right now, this cat was so rambunctious when I got it 4 months ago. It was tough. I was planning to get rid of her, not because I didn't love her, because I couldn't give her the attention she deserved. So I did that. I gave her away. That night, I cried. The next morning, he coincidentally contacted me and says, come get your cat. And so in this way, she warmed my heart, Brian, because I needed something. And I say that word deliberately, needed. I needed. Well, Keith, you don't need anything, especially your speech. I needed this cat. And right now she's drinking out of my water. But this is how it's changed me. It's brought me to a space of being softer. Just being softer.
Well, so we learn from everything in every relationship. And so this is obviously, you're learning from patience, you're learning kindness, you're learning unconditional love, right? And so we all do
You
that.
know what, Brian?
And,
What I'm really, and thank you, what I'm really learning since you asked and I interrupted, what I'm really, really learning, at least with her as the mirror, hello, Miranda Govier, as the mirror reflection, is I'm learning to care for something other than myself. And I've been doing that for years by doing this broadcast and doing what I do. But this
and
is
of course your
hands-on.
son. Of
Yeah,
course.
and my son. But this is hands-on. This is personal. I got my son, and that's is what it is. It's anchored forevermore. But there was something else, something not beyond my son, but something different than my son. And it's to truly care for something else. Cleaning the cat shit out of the box, feeding this little beautiful girl who's standing on my table. I'm gonna put her out in a second, because she will jump on this cloth because it's moving in the wind, and she'll pull it down. And in my house, it'll be in disarray. But oh, I know why she wants this treat. But I learned to care for something else beyond myself, beyond my son, and it's taught me a valuable lesson that you never thought cleaning shit could be something so fragrant.
Yeah. And the same goes true with dogs or plants or obviously children or grandparents or whatever you're caring for. Yeah.
What gave you the notion? Brian and I do a hangout session. Let's not call it an interview. Hangout session. Just two guys hanging out, and you get to overhear the conversation a couple times every 3 months or so, once every other month. And I said, bro, we still on for tomorrow? He said, sure. I said, got a topic? He said, how to save the world in one easy lesson. How do we save the world? This is going to open up a big can of spiritual worms. So how do we save the world in one easy lesson, bro?
All right, we're going to get to that in a second. I got to read all three of the ones I sent to you. So here's what I said. Where are my little things that I sent? Oh, here. How to save the world in one easy lesson. Systematic changes and the evolution of consciousness, because the whole systems, all the systems on the planet are failing. And then the last one is butterflies, donkeys, and magic rocks. And those are three little stories that maybe we hopefully will get to. A story about butterflies, about donkeys, and a third one about magic rocks. So I guess the first one, how to save the world in one easy lesson. Years ago, I worked with Deepak Chopra, and Deepak had a group called An Alliance for a New Humanity. He was just part of the group, and there were thousands of people from all around the world. And those people were all asked to write down all the problems of the world. So they wrote them all down, and they had thousands and thousands of problems. And so then someone started putting them together into categories, and they put the categories into categories until they came up with 4 different categories, 4 different problems with the world. And here's the world's problems according to Deepak Chopra and An Alliance for a New Humanity. It's ecology, economy, war, and then discrimination or racism or religion or whatever. It's just isms, personal preferences. So the first one, ecology, is pretty obvious. We're just destroying our planet, and we're not putting back all the resources. When you drag a 20-mile-long fishing net behind a boat and just rip anything out of the ocean and claim that it's yours, or do the same thing with oil and just claim it's yours just because you can do it, and that's okay with our society, and we build a society around that. Well, our society isn't self-sustaining. We can't do that forever. And so ecology is number one. And that, that goes with everything. We need clean air, we need clean water, and so on. We're the same amount of water on the planet right now as the same amount that was on day one. And then another one would be economy. And if you ever look at the dollar bill, if you look at your dollar bills, look at the monopoly money, the color of monopoly money. They're red and yellow and blue and orange and so on. Yeah, well, so if you look at the dollar bills right now, the US dollar bills, they're the same color as monopoly money, as if they're playing with us. And so I think the $5 bills got
Excuse
a little
me,
red.
you said something dynamite. And since you stepped on the carrot, let's put the carrot in front of the face. You said they. Like, Keith, what are you doing? Well, you said they. So let's have fun. Who are the they that are doing or whatever?
Well, all right. So this is a great time. I mean, I kind of grew up studying what would call conspiracy theories. But if you really look into conspiracy theories, that all came out when John F. Kennedy was murdered. They came out with that term, and who was he murdered by? Those are all.
I have a very likely suspicion. Yeah. Can I share it with you?
Oh, yeah.
Next time you pull up the Zapruder film, Zapruder film, okay, when the motorcade passes the sign, as soon as it passes the sign, Brian, you see this car motion like so. Mm-hmm. It's moving at a constant speed, whatever that speed is, and all of a sudden you see a pause. It just slows down. It continues, but it slows down. If you watch the driver, this is nuts. If you watch the driver, He literally turns around and you see a nickel plated something because it gleams in the sunlight, and it happens. What is the slow down business? Well, if you think about it, if this was executed and planned, this is what we're going to do at this time, and we're going to pass the sign, if that's what the logic was, or whatever. One thing they did not include in the instruction is human nature. When you turn around, your foot's going to lift off the accelerator. It just makes sense to do that. I mean, that's, you're leaning. You can see it. You can see a nickel plated something. Now, this was supposedly an air pistol. So why was she trying to get out the car? Human nature. Something goes down and bullets are flying. You want to duck. You don't want to just get into where you think it's coming from, the outside. And supposedly they were stuffing her back in the car to keep all the evidence inside the car. So the next time anyone watches the Zapruder film, watch the driver. You're going to have to play it back, and you're going to play, and you're going to start seeing it. And so what did you find in this rabbit hole full of shit?
Well, I mean, that was just the beginning for me, because, if you really ask what would be the motive of killing the president, you look into what he said just like 8 days before his speech. He said, "I'm going to reveal this underbelly of our government, that I'm going to expose that there's not only just the government, but the handlers behind it, and the money and the power, and it's around the world." And if you look at all the rich countries and all the rich people around the world, it's kind of a club. And so I don't want to get so caught up in conspiracy theories that we don't get to the solutions, because the solution's the other side. I mean, it just.
But you know what, bro? You know what? Like me, like many of us, we say we don't want to get into conspiracy theories, and I get it. We don't want to lean too hard in it because it pulls us into potential
I want to go to the spiritual solution.
Serious nonsense. Yeah. But I think, and I'm interrupting because you're on fire tonight, you're saying things that are triggering me. And so as a ping pong, I want to respond to that. You said, I want to go into it. I don't want to go into conspiracy theory nonsense. I want to go into these theories that seem like there's a conspiracy. And we can play this game back and forth. What is good and bad, what is bad and good. So there is lots of truth. In fact, truth is stranger than fiction, whatever. Uh-huh. And as we look at this model, we see a lot of nonsense. It gets dismantled. It gets what's the other word? Disinformation. And so there's a lot of mud in the clarity. So we can't really find the true spiritual nugget or the carrot. But I think it's our greatest possibility, because it helps us versus just staying in sameness. Sameness is conspiracy theory. But when we go to conspiracy theory, there are questions and possibility to say, okay, I'm looking for something, but I don't want to look so hard that in my observation I create this self-fulfilling prophecy. I want to look for something that's calling me to say that in the recognition of, I get to expand into a greater possibility, because now I know the absolute in and out of all of it truth.
Well, I invite the listener to type in the JFK speech that got him killed, and you'll get this speech that happened November 22nd, 1963, and in it he talks about a conspiracy, or that there are handlers behind the government that puppeting everybody in the government, and it's all money. And so part of this, we were going down these 4 problems of the world. Number 2 is economy, and this is the big one, because this is where we're at right now with all the control mechanisms. The control mechanisms of all business is money. And we talked about the monopoly money, the colors of monopoly money. That if you look deep at the colors of monopoly money and then the colors of our own money, please bring them out, and you'll see, they're basically green, but there's a tint of blue or pink or yellow on all of our money, and line them up from $1 bill to $100 bills, and you'll go, we're being played, right? And it's a game. And part of the game, I stood in the Capitol building with a Native American elder named Red Hawk, and the Neching Oracle, the spiritual protector of the Dalai Lama. And we're in the rotunda, and he says, if you look here in the Rotunda, the Capitol building, the beautiful thing, it's all written on the walls. And he explained every little story, how in order for them to manipulate us, they have to actually put it in plain sight. And so, it's not just our government, it's all governments around the world kind of in cahoots with this thing. So our money it stopped being gold standard years ago. And gold standard meant that if you have a little nugget of gold, that had value, the same value as the paper money. And it was always back. Well, that stopped happening to where we have valueless money. It's just consumer confidence. And that means that, yeah, and then you look at the way that money's structured, the pyramid scheme around all that. And, I actually just know that there's a handful of families around the world that have way more money than half the world. And you can type that in. Over the years, first time it was pointed out to me, there was something like 100 families, and then 50 families, then 25. Now there's like 10 people around the world that have the same wealth as half of the planet. There's 7 or 8 billion people. Let's just say 8 billion for numbers. 4 billion people have the same amount of money as like 10. And it's so meaning that the money system of it being, imaginary, value, we're done with that. And so if the whole world gets rid of money right now, a billionaire has a whole lot more to lose than you and I. I mean, what we need if we lose money is a community around us. We need food, we need shelter, we need safety, security, and that's what you need anyway. And instead of looking to the government for that, look to your community. Look, and so do you have clean water? Are we connected to nature? Are we connected to a source that has that? Can we work in community to bring that about? I just came from Maryland, right near Pennsylvania, and the Amish people live all around that area, and they all work as a great community. Most of the Amish people live with no electricity, no running water. They horse and buggy to and from places, and they live happily. They live in community and they share things. So I don't know who's doing the better thing or not, but it seems like they're reasonably happy. I don't know, But if this whole economy falls out, they're probably in a better place than we are because they don't need it.
Well, they're self-supportive, they're self-sustaining, they're self-sufficient, and they realize the power in their collective community. That's why when they get to building a barn, you get 300 plus people freaking swinging hammers, and it goes up. They do what it takes.
They do it in one day. It's amazing, or 2 days.
And then they literally get under the barn with all of this individual man muscle, and they'll pick it up and walk it. Yeah. Talk about unification of a collective idea. That's just simply.
In fact, I invite our listeners to type that in and just see it being done, because I've seen videos of it on YouTube and so on. It's fantastic. So that's a community. That's conscious co-creation. That's cooperation. That's all the solutions that we're going to get to in a little bit. So here's the other one: war or violence, and it starts with the way we treat our children. Do you ever have someone or see someone that hits the little kid and says, "Don't hit," and they hit them, and "Don't hit, that's bad." And so you're hitting someone and saying, "Don't hit."
Can you imagine how confusing that is? Well, one, I understand the lesson, I shouldn't hit, but just the whole realization of what are you trying to tell me?
Well, we do that with war. We bomb countries because they might have a bomb. They might have a weapon of mass destruction, and since we have 2,000 of them, we should bomb them. Like insane, and then so war, and so we can change that. That's like caveman mentality. There's body, there's mind, there's spirit, and the caveman mentality is to punch, use the body, physical. The next level would be mental. That'd be like playing chess and manipulating people in a mental way, like manipulating the psychosis of people, and then
winning.
Yeah, and the third way
winning
you and I love to get to is the spiritual way, and that's the harder one to get to. And that's really love, kindness, connection, conscious co-creation. And so that's what we're going to get to in this talk here, is all of our solutions. And so the fourth one is isms, or racism, religion, discrimination. It's all the things that bring us hatred. It makes us separate, differentiation. You're different than me. Your skin color, or your personal preference of sexual preference, or of what God is better. My God's better than yours, so I should hate you. And it's like, all this silly stuff. So we have all these silly problems in the world, and yet what causes them are all the same common things. In fact, let me just write them down right now. Well, actually, I'll just say them. The same thing that is the same cause for all these problems is ignorance. We're all ignorant, and part of our ignorance right now is the news media has been legally allowed to lie. It's legal to lie in the news media. You don't have to have any truth in it at all. And so what they give you is one little nugget of truth and a bunch of lies behind it. And that's the red team. And then the blue team does the same thing. They put their little nugget of truth and then lots of little lies behind it. And you're in the middle going, which one is right? And they're both wrong. It's all a mess. It's all a bunch of lies. And yet, because there's a little bit of truth in each one, you go, yeah, my blue team or my red team is right, and you're wrong. And in actuality, they're both manipulating you to get you full of anger and fear and argue and blame and complain back and forth. And that's all low-level stuff. That's caveman mentality. That keeps us wanting to hit or be manipulated in the mind. It doesn't ever let us get to the spiritual.
That's like the Native American who said both wings belong to the same bird. And it doesn't mean because they're bought. I'm not saying they are or aren't. The truth of the matter, this is about you, that both wings are just complete, incessant, ongoing nonsense in and of itself, even without blame. To try to choose. Here's the thing. When we live in a world of duality, good, bad, right, wrong, in, out, up, down, people think, well, at least I'm going to choose the better of the two. Basically, let's point this directly to a political idea. I'm going to vote for the one less evil. You're still living in jail. You are still living in the prison of the mind. So when you realize that I have this choice, but that one's not so good, so this must be the better one I have to choose, you're living in jail. The question I have always posed, mostly recently, is who is this being that feels and has been influenced and manipulated into feeling that they have only one choice between these two polar opposites? And if we're truly trying to get out of duality, it's about recognizing who this being is that simply believes it only has a choice between these two ideas. When the person begins to realize that they are more important than anything else, infinite choices become presented. That is the gig.
The Roman battle plan was to divide and conquer. And as long as we're on one side blaming the other, we're divided. And once you can see the commonalities, then we can get to some level of solution. And so instead of it being a war, we actually need to unify, because the problem is most of those we the people, most of the people, if you look at the red team and the extremes of the red team, they say Constitution. And if you look at the extremes of the blue team, they say Constitution. And what the Constitution talks about is we the people. And what it also talks about is to overthrow our government if it no longer serves we the people. And so read the Declaration of Independence. It's an amazing document. And it'll lead you back to, we have to unify. We have to come together. We have to love one another. We have to work for we the people. So when the extremes of the blue team and the red team actually say the same thing. Like years ago, it used to be a guy named Ron Paul and Dennis Kucinich. And I liked both of them. And they both were saying the same thing. And it was like they were so extreme on their party that they actually said the same thing. And I wouldn't doubt if we got them in the same room, they'd agree on everything. They're really cool guys. And so, lately we've had Bernie Sanders and then a handful of Republicans that are holding people accountable. There's a handful. And so anyway, what we're looking for is the extremes of the party. And so when you look inside of that, there's these divide and conquer party. And who owns the media? Who owns the news? Well, the richest few people, all the corporations, all the richest few people. And they want to keep us divided. They want to keep us conquered. And because that keeps us stupid. And same with defunding education, it keeps us stupid. So we don't know how to stand up for ourselves and what's really in the Constitution or what we should do to make change. So we just feel like we're a victim. And so humanity has to look up. It's not like all those we the people on the blue side and the red side. They're so busy arguing and blaming between each other that they're not looking at the billionaires who own everything. They own the news media, they own the food industry, they own the chemical industry that creates the food, the chemical industry that creates the drugs or the medicines that we use. They own the healthcare industry, they own the prison industry. They want to now own our own U.S. Postal Service and privatize that. Oh, privatize, it's good. They want to privatize everything so they can own everything. And it's a handful of families, a handful of people. And when we look into Bill Gates, I mean, Bill Gates, he was a software guy. He's not a doctor. Why are we listening to him? And he created viruses for his own software so that he could sell you virus protection. And why are we like? It's insane. Why are we looking at him
as above, so below on Forever Go? If he's creating virus protection, software, that's his thing. That's what he does. So in every arena he dips his finger into, his toe into, he's selling you virus software protection. And it's not a judgment; it's a fact of the matter. In fact, if you simply look at the man without judgment, that's what you see. He's a guy who invents the computer. He invented the hardware computer, this thing that you and I are blessed to have fun with. But he didn't invent this hardware, but he's definitely trying to install his software.
Well, and so the confusion comes, there's these guys like QAnon, if you know anything about that. What happens is it still keeps the blame. Now, the same billionaires, like Donald Trump, billionaire, he admits that before he became president, he would donate to both parties. He would donate to all the Republicans and all the Democrats because he wanted to own both of them, or any of them, or all of them. And same with all these billionaires; they own both parties. So when you hear the Republicans going, "Yes, the dark side of our government is only on the Democratic side," they're not looking to the next level, because it's also on the Republican side. And and then the Democrat. The reason we'll never know any real truth about, this Russia thing or Ukraine and so on is because both parties are guilty. If you looked at what was redacted is both parties were exposed as being corrupt. And they made this agreement. Well, we're going to argue a little bit, but we make this agreement, we'll never release anything. And if you really knew what was really written there and really studied and researched, we'd all destroy both parties in our government. And it's really what needs to happen, because once again, those billionaires owning our government. I remember back growing up in the 70s, thinking, oh, in Mexico, it's so obvious that their government, both parties in their government, are owned by corporations and the richest few. Well, here we are, 40, 50 years later, and it's the same thing. We've got our government owned by the richest few people. And look around the world, it's the same way. There's only a handful of countries that actually aren't, and most of them now are run by women. And so here's the difference.
The Dalai Lama did say, the Western woman will save the world.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Brian, let's take a pause real quick. Everyone, Keith Anthony Blanchard here, hanging out with my broham sandwich, Mr. Brian D. Hardin. What a beautiful man. He means a lot to me. I've never met him, but when I do, COVID or not, I'm going to hug his neck and kiss his cheek. I'm going to be right back, Center of Light. Brian, when we get back, I want to ask you a serious question. Actually, I want to take you into my world. And I just want to, and in fact, I need help. I want you to help me make sense of what I call my world, because I want to pose something to you as a possibility about everything you are speaking about. Everyone, Keith Anthony Blanchard here.
Hey, Keith, should I put on my Smurf outfit?
Actually, why don't you get a sock puppet?
Okay.
Everyone, Keith Anthony Blanchard hanging up my broham sandwich, Mr. Brian D. Hardin. Some lavender soul called, let's see what I'm going to choose. Breathe. Breath is life. Well, Keith, I breathe all the time. That's the why I'm alive. Imagine what happens when you are conscious of your breath. Wow. See you shortly, Lavender Soul.
Trust that I will guide you in whatever you do. Just remember to breathe and do your very best to live in love, give in love, be in love, and love you shall receive.
passport. Uh-oh.
Welcome back to Center of Light Radio. Yo, tonight we're hanging out with Brian D. Hardin. We're talking about how to save the world in one easy lesson. I want to give a big shout out to all the members of Lavender Soul. Yes, I am one of them. I love myself so much. That song was recorded and mixed in a loft of a house I bought for her, whatever. Got married, just had a beautiful son. And I recorded this on old, at that time it was current. Brian knows what I'm talking about. This was the Echo Layla version audio interface. The pristineness, the clearness, the wax, the glass on top of this album is amazing. I'm going to pat myself on the back. So Lavender Soul, fantastic. Bernard and I have been talking about doing a new album. Hello, COVID. Hello, bestseller campaign. So I've been busy, but I long to record again. Record these beautiful ideas that come through all of us. Does not your beautiful life come through you? If you don't see that, you did already. You have to live fully. There's nothing else. You want to be happy, you want to be enlightened, do exactly those things that give you your jollies. Brian D. Hardin, welcome back to Center of Light Radio. My bro Ham.
Am I on? There we go. So we just talked about 4 problems of the world: ecology, economy, war. Where's the thing? There we go. Ecology, economy, war, and then isms. You know, the personal preferences, and how we're kind of silly that we put up with this. It's, you know, there's a handful of families that own most all the wealth in the world, and if we were playing a Monopoly game, and in fact, we talked about Monopoly money, that Monopoly money actually is the same color as our money right now, the US money. So if we were playing a Monopoly game and there's, you know, 8 billion of us sitting at the table and 10 families have all the money, wouldn't you just flip over the Monopoly board and then start over? Yeah.
It's sort of like Jesus did at the
yeah.
Just turn over the tables.
Well, so I mean, do we need money? I mean, what is money? It's just an agreed upon thing. And there are tribes that are uncivilized tribes that live totally happily, where they all take care of everyone. In our society, we judge ourselves by how many billionaires we can create.
But you see, Brian, this is what you were actually describing earlier. It's not the right, the left, the blue, or the red. It's in the middle. And your sharing just now is exactly that. Because please correct me if I'm wrong. I'm so ignorant when it comes to politics. But to my understanding, the Republicans is about empower yourself, do this thing. And Democrats are more like, I'm going to leave. There's a system that will take care of me. And so there's this hodgepodge. There's this mutt. It's both. We should always look at the fact that we should take care of each other. Without nothing beautiful can ever happen. But in the Republicans' defense, the Reds' defense, which is you need to get off your lazy freaking ass and do something about your life. Would that sort of be a hybrid child of this idea?
Well, take a look at the third one on here, war. We create wars so that we can sell war machines. Who owns the war machines? Who creates them? The billionaires, right? And who owns the economy and controls whether the stock market goes up and down? Same thing. Who's raping the economy or ecology, destroying Mother Nature? Owning the oil companies, owning the food production, deciding to spray poisons and oil on our food that cause healthcare issues, and then they own the drug companies that create the drugs that alleviate symptoms of your toxic foods that you were given. And then this racism, religion, discrimination, it's all exasperated by the news media, the TV channels, and so on. Who owns those? So it's the richest few keep control of our thing. They call television, it's actually a mind manipulation. They call it programming for a reason, because it programs you to think and feel certain ways. And that we can watch hundreds of versions of murder on TV tonight and turn on the news and see all about the murder, but you can't see love, you can't see kindness, you can't see connection. And comedy is gone.
So being this guy who creates movies and deals in audio, maybe you and I, even though we're in Memphis and Los Angeles, could create this movie called The Good News.
Well, there is a channel called Good News. And
well, there you have it.
I had a TV show idea, it was 25 years ago, of the Good News channel. And then this guy came out with Good News magazine. And so it's still going. If you type in Good News, you'll see his thing, and it's positive. But people, there's like endorphins and serotonin and dopamine, and it's all these different chemical changes you go through when you're in fear, when you're in love, when you're laughing, and so all these different chemical changes. Well, the one that gets us most is that fear chemical. So that's why they play the fear chemical. The news is all about fear. All the TV shows all about fear. Here's another 100 ways you can get murdered tonight. And then buy some oatmeal. and so it's a funny world. Yeah. So you asked for a puppet.
Brian, before the break, there
he's got his mask on, and he was going to scream and yell at you. And he's wrapped in the flag.
You said he. What's his name?
Well, his name is Captain U.S. He's wrapped in the flag. And at one point, I actually ran. I do it every 4 years. I run for political office for president every 4 years. And so far, I'm the only vote that I get. So if you type Captain U.S. for us, I'm on YouTube. Dressed in a crazy red, white, and blue outfit, but this is my sock puppet version of me, vote for me kind of thing. And
this is my sock puppet naked.
Yeah.
It has no sock. Hello, Crystal. Hello, Donnelly Erickson. Keith Anthony Blanchard here, hanging out with my friend Brian D. Hardin. We're speaking about how to save the world in one easy lesson. Brian, before the song break, I said I was going to piss people off. I didn't say that, but I'm now going to piss people off because I'm not going to upset you. Where you're going to find yourself may be upsetting. So I ask, lovingly support anyone that wants to play this game with me, please. You may learn something. I learn something every day, every time. My question is, Brian, and I'm truly hitting a tennis ball to you, or volleying a volleyball to you, or ping pong ball to you. So as we think about, look all around, in, out, without a doubt, all about, we see this world of Donald Trump and Biden and that whole thing. I don't have to give every bullet point. Without judgment, It is what it is, and that's what that is. That is simply what that is. And I think we deserve to get pissed off about things that don't go the way that we, as aware, conscious, wanting better for humanity beings, take that stance. Getting pissed off is phenomenal. Getting mad, it doesn't go anywhere because it stops right there. Getting pissed off means I'm in this moment, I'm blistered, I don't like this possibility. So I vent it for a month, a day, a week, 5 minutes, and I'm done with it. It was for the moment. So as we look out and about into this world and we see all this redonkulousness, children, I don't have to mention anything else. Children, it's over. This is all happening. So if scripture, this is where we get crazy into the rabbit hole. Follow me, y'all. If scripture, prophecy, says this is how it all went down as to why we can give you such scripture so that you can see that what we're telling you is coming. Is there anything any of us can do about it? So be it Donald Trump, be it Biden, be it whoever, the story that is being told is being told to you and has been told to all of us for so many thousands of years throughout scripture of any sort anywhere in the world. So that being said, we should, could, would take a stand towards something that we believe in. That's part of the awakening for the human being, but not for the collective. The collective, it is going to happen. Hence, scripture said, I'm going to tell you something in the future that in hindsight, you're going to look back on and say that this is correct. So is Donald Trump the savior? He is. Is Hillary the savior? She is. It's all part of this movie that we were all told is going to happen. So my question to you, my brother, is it both? Should, could, would we stand up for those things to be a part of the story in hindsight that's going to be told to say that you were a hero of the movie, of the prophecy that was told so many years ago? Or should we stay so hunkered in to right, left, red, blue? Or do we just simply influence when we can and step back? Or do we have to be so hard on the system, hard on ourselves, and make life hard?
All right, so for me, it's unity. It's coming together. It's realizing that we have more in common than we have different. And we, the people, when I talked about on the last segment, that the red team, when they're extreme, talks about the Constitution and we the people, and the blue team, their extreme, says the same thing. And those extremes are more true, which is we the people are getting screwed with while the richest few make out with all the money. Take a look at these bailouts. Everything from the bank bailouts that happened, in 9/11, 2008, and then here it is, again. And we give the richest few trillions of dollars right away, and then you're waiting for your $1,200 check to try to get you through for 4 months. It's insanity. Now, if you realize that if I had $1 trillion to give to everybody in the United States, I wouldn't give it to the richest few people and the corporations. I would give it to we the people. Take the quantity of people in the United States, divide $1 trillion up by that, and that's what everybody gets. And guess what everybody would do? They'd put it in the bank. So you don't have to give money to the banks because the people are going to put money in the banks. And then guess what they do? Because they have a little extra money, they'd go buy extra food, or they'd go buy a plane
what's
ticket
important. They go buy what is important to the survival of their beautiful reality.
And
absolutely.
Everything's saved because the money goes to the people first, and then the people spend it and they vote with their money. Instead, we're just letting a handful of the richest few people in our government give all their buddies billions and trillions of dollars, and then we the people are going, well, what's for us? Oh, now you get $400 a week. $400 a week, and then you still have to pay your rent, you have to pay all your bills and whatever else, and you can't work. The industry is gone. It's not coming back for a while. And so if you gave all the money to the people, the industries would be coming back. It'd be different, And if you bail out these small businesses, why is it we're allowed to have people standing all over the place in a Walmart, but you can't in a small business? Why? It's so weird to me. And, you can go through a drive-through where someone's wearing their mask, down, below their nose, and they're breathing on your food because they're breathing out your nose, and that's okay in serving them up. But you can't go to a restaurant with your friends that actually do take care of things. I mean, the only restaurants I'll go into are ones that actually are clean. If you go into the bathroom in a restaurant and the bathroom's wrecked, leave.
That tells you everything. There's nothing beyond. The food will not taste any better than your predicament of walking into the restaurant and seeing the layout and how it feels. It's either wonderful food or it's, quote, no pun intended, but pun intended, shit food.
Shit food. Yeah. So earlier we were talking. So we're looking for solutions for the world. So let me run us through it. These are the world problems: ecology, economy, war, and isms. It's all stuff. And what causes those? So what causes those problems are the same things: ignorance. And so we're living in a crazy world right now where we're the most educated, most informed society ever in the history of humanity, and yet we're ignorant because they made it legal to lie in the news, in the media. Legal. So there needs to be zero truth to what they say in the news. It's all called entertainment. So we're running around ignorant. We're ignoring what the real truth is, and then our governments and the richest few hide the real truth. So ignorance. We're all ignorant, and then greed. We worship these billionaires, and we love these billionaires, and we judge our country. The U.S. is the richest country in the world only because we only got like 5 or 10 families that are the richest few people in the world. That's why. And so we judge ourselves by how many billionaires we can create, and we don't judge ourselves by how we take care of the most needy. And what you said, pull yourself up on the bootstraps.
Well, you see, Brian, that's the thing. That's the thing in the division of Democrat, Republican, right, left, blue, red. How do we take care of the needy? Not blaming Republicans. I'm going through the mindset of certain people. They think that, don't take my money. I earned my money. Do your thing. That's a powerful thing. You shouldn't take what belongs, quote, to me. But how there's an in-between place between this and that you would see the red and the left, the red and the blue, the right and the left, actually shake hands and become purple.
Well, yeah, of course, we're going to get there.
Right?
So the war, see the war thing? The war machine eats up about 60% of our money for our government, 60%. And another big chunk of our money goes to healthcare. So war and healthcare. And so war is an insane thing. It's a great moneymaker. And so we've been at this war with Middle East, for what, since 20 years, well, actually 17 years. And it just doesn't make sense. It's the non-ending war, And who are we fighting? Is there really someone out there that we're, and what freedoms has it brought you? What freedoms have gone away because of this war? And who's making money off of it? And who are these that are profiting off the war? I mean, ask yourself those questions and do the research. We have military contractors that have their own mercenary armies, and so where's all that come from? So all these problems are these: ignorance, greed, fears, and powers of old. So fear is driven by the news, media, and so on.
What is powers of old? I know that you're about to get to that, but that just called out to me. What is powers of old? You mean the old factions from an older time and being hard and war and explode to try to explode things to try to create peace?
when I just talk one-on-one with a lot of people, they say, well, this is the way it's always been. Well, you're only 20 years old. In the last 20 years, you're right. As far as your life is concerned, this is the way it's always been. But if you go back, 1,000 years or even 100 years or whatever, you get, is it a cheese commercial? Artificially flavored cheese commercial? Okay, so anyway, it's a patterns of old. And we often consider that, oh, this is the way it's always been done, so it can never change. Well, when you look at the word apocalypse, in Greek, it actually means the revealing. Well, we're in this apocalyptic time where we're going to reveal a lot of truths that have been hidden, and we're going to reveal that we're manipulated by fears. We're going to reveal, or we are revealing, that we're also consumed by these patterns or powers of old. These people or richest few or whatever that are the controllers, and then this greed thing. That's once again those richest few. If a billionaire is 1,000 million. So most people think, oh, I want to be a millionaire. Well, there are people like Jeff Bezos, who owns Amazon. My understanding, he's made something like $30 billion in the last 4 to 6 months. Just one dude. And it's kind of insane that we worship these guys that have so much money. And if I gathered up 30 billion rolls of toilet paper and hoarded them all around my house, you would think I was insane, and you would put me in a psych ward because I was a hoarder and I needed psychological help. So what is it? Why do we worship a billionaire who gathers money and hoards it to himself and doesn't help people? Does he pay more than minimum wage to his workers? Look that one up. No. Does he want to replace all his workers with robots right now? And is he doing it? Yeah. So your jobs are going away. And so the whole thing is a wreck. One dude's, he could be Batman. He could be saving the planet. Supposedly, something like 20 or 30 billion dollars, that's his profits over the last 4 to 6 months, that could change the entire planet's ability for hunger. We have more people dying of hunger every day. It's insane. We have like 29 military veterans committing suicide every day. I mean, these are big deals. We have a whole lot of problems on the planet. Why are those veterans committing suicide? Because they don't have help. They don't have a community. They don't have love. They don't have support and funding. They have health issues, and we're ignoring them. Instead, we're putting our money towards war, and how can we bail out the billionaires?
Putting money towards the very thing they laid their life down to prevent.
Yeah,
It's insulting.
And how can we bail out the billionaires? And so all this, once again, it's led by those billionaires owning our news media, and they keep us ignorant. They keep us divided and conquered, And so instead of dumping 65% of our money, or whatever it is, 60% of our money for the U.S. budget into war, what if we did it for peace? We have a war room. Why don't we have a peace room? Why don't we take care of we the people? Why are we creating more billionaires and bailing them out before we bail out we the people? If we the people would put our money in the bank, we'd spend our money correctly, right? So here it is. This is our solution. It's not me. That divide and conquer keeps us thinking, oh, I'm the good guys and they're the bad guys. There's always someone to fight. But when we unify and all come together and realize that we're all in the same predicament together in this weird way, and we say we're all in the same boat. Well, we're really not. The boat that the billionaires are in is a yacht. You and I are
exactly
grabbing a hold on to some driftwood, and we're out in the ocean with sharks around us, and or we're in a little dinghy,
right,
trying to keep blowing it up and trying to keep it afloat, And these billionaires are in yachts that have yachts inside of a yacht. They're nesting yachts, It's insane. And so we're not all in the same boat. They're in control of this mess, and they are really a handful of super rich. And look at these bailouts. If you really read any of these bailouts, and it goes back to 9/11, it goes back to the bank bailout, bailing out the very banks that caused the problem, and then we had 150 banks before that bank bailout in 2008, and it went down to 6. And the 6 that caused the problems are the 6 that we still left with. And then you rewind the 1995 or 96 before 9/11, Bill Clinton was in office, and you'll see that the news media, he deregulated the news media, allowing monopolies to happen, which enabled us to go from 150 news outlets down to 6 or so. And with 6 news media outlets, you can easily control propaganda. You 3 guys go blue team, you 3 guys go red team. We'll divide and conquer and keep them divided and conquer. And so now they say fake news. Fake news is all this independent news, all this internet news. Oh, it's fake news, fake news. Well, who's that coming from? The richest few people. And then you believe him because, my red team says it's fake news. Read about it, understand it. There's deeper levels behind all this, which is we the people have to come together, and we have to hold for what's good for humanity, what's good for ecology, for the planet. If we don't have ecology, if we don't have nature, this planet's doomed. If we don't have fresh air and clean water, we're doomed. Economy, that's all imaginary. That's made up. This is fictitious. We don't need money. What we need is appreciation. We need love between all of us. And then war. Do we need war? I think war is obsolete. I think war is obsolete. We can move beyond being cavemen, hitting each other with clubs, to actually talking to each other.
That is one of the beautiful preciousness nuggets of COVID, and our being separated from everyone helped us to see that I love my brethren. I don't care what country you're from. In fact, if I never met you and you're from whatever place, I just want to kiss you in your face and hug you around your neck, because I need some other knucklehead that looks like me that's serious about just being simply happy and blissful in the world. Absolutely.
And so that last one down here is just all this personal preferences, and we've had this during this COVID thing, racism and so on, religion, discrimination, and so on, and all those are buttons that those richest few people keep us divided. When you see yourself as different than other people, then you hate them. You're supposed to hate them, and we as humanity have to evolve beyond that. I mean, everybody has the same issues. We all want love and joy and community and music that makes us joyous and connect, and some level of some fun and laughter, and it's like we have more in common. Everybody eats food and loves their culture and so on. And the power of the United States has always been in the diversity of people. It's not in monocropping. And same thing with food. The power of food is not eating cheeseburgers every day, but eating the whole rainbow of colors. And then that brings you health, And so, America became strong by having the rainbow and being okay with all world's religions and acceptant, And when it says all people are created equal, we the people and all men are created equal, I mean, that's what they mean. Men and women, we're all the same, And so
I just saw in a glimpse in the chat room, I'm not sure who it is. My mouse's battery is going. They said, we don't need money, ?
Oh, we don't.
That is silliness.
No, it is.
You know what? That will never
Money's
happen.
silliness.
So if we don't need money, and that's a silly idea, then obviously whoever said that, I can't see, doesn't believe in the idea or the possibility of heaven and earth, because in fact, they're contradictory. Well, then we don't need silliness. We don't need money, which is silliness, and everyone shares and shares alike. And so they cancel out each other. Brian?
So hold on. Let me rant on that for a second. With the powers of old, or these patterns of old. Oh, we've always had money. We always need money. Well, that's ridiculous. Well, if you're just looking at your life, yeah. Now, a few years ago, I went to this place called Kuna Yala, and Kuna Yala is down near Colombia, and it's a tribe of about 7,000 indigenous people that live on an island, and they all go out in the morning when the sun rises. They all the young kids go out and they go fishing. They've got reefs right there, and they go fishing. They bring in the fresh fish every day, right? And then they're right off the coast, right off the mainland, and they've got a little mainland, and they gather all the water from the mainland and they run it through these tubes underwater for about a half mile to the island. And so they have running water, but it's literally only about 4 to 6 inches off the ground. And so you open up a spigot and you put a little bowl underneath it, and you can have some water. And so everybody's got water, everybody's got food, and the kids also go take these boats and they go across to the mainland where they've got bananas and sugar cane and some other things growing, and they go over every morning and they chop it down. They actually climb the trees with nothing but like a rope around their waist, climb a tree, cut down just enough bananas of what they need, bring back what they need for the day, and they bring the boat back, a little canoe, like a half mile. And all the teenagers do this. This is the young men doing this, and they're supplying for the whole community. And they don't need money. They don't have electricity. They've got their running water is all gravity fed, and they're all in joy. We talked about the Amish people. They really don't deal with, like, they don't need anything. They work as a community. They take care of another.
I'm curious, Amish people, are they quarantined from each other?
No.
When they are exactly, that's the point. That's the question I'm asking.
They don't have homelessness problems. They take care of their elderly. I mean, it's an honor to take care of your grandmother. And that's what you do. And this is part of life. You take care of. You don't like stick them in a home and ignore them because you have enough money to do that. You actually, it's part of.
That's just so horrible. Yeah. Horrible. Look, when my mother, and on the other side, when my mother passed away, long story short, I knew I had to get my son to see my mother and father in South Louisiana because I lived so far away. My son has only seen my mother and father 3, at most 4 times since he's been born. And so something said, take him now. And I contacted his mother, and she said, why not take him just through the normal Christmas break of school? And I said, I don't know, but I can't. I took my son to South Louisiana, 10 minutes from home, from there, called my dad and said, we're in town. He said, good. I got some biscuits and whatever for you. I said, great. So we get there and we spend an hour and whatever-ish with my father. I said, Dad, we're tired. We've been on the road for 7 hours. He said, great. Your mother will be ready to see you when you wake up. Didn't happen. My mother had a massive stroke. And so in this realization of what I thought was this and that, everything just went completely awry. So as I'm sharing this with you, Crystal, it was Crystal. She said, I did share that. Crystal, I want to ask you, dear. I know I'm going off kilter, but I want to ask you, you said that in this world that we can't live without currency, our own currency. But knowing that you're a beautiful Christian woman, that you believe in the prophecy of heaven and earth, hence the reason you're a Christian. So this has been foretold that we are going through this phase, this experience of that very story. I understand the nature of humanity that you were talking about. Brian is shaking his finger. He's got something to say. Come on, bro.
Well, I mean, the punchline for the easy thing, one easy step is love. Okay, and so what appreciates is love. Money, we say, appreciates.
But people don't know what love is, Brian. So obviously we don't know what love is as to why in such a conundrum. Would you share with us your place of what that actually is?
Well, so you've heard this in most towns. The rich doctor, ignores his kids, and he's really rich, and he just gives his kid money, and the kid's a dysfunctional brat, right? And because here's some money, shut up, go. The he's spoiled out of his head, but he, does. So we're living in a society where we worship money as if it's God, right? But we're not worshiping love as if it's God, because love is God. And so if in this time that we're in right now, a lot of people went out of work. And I witnessed just in my own neighborhood, I'd ride my bike around here, and I would see fathers who were out of work for the first time in their lives, playing with their kids during the day, playing ball, riding bikes, enjoying themselves. And you could see it on their kids' face like, oh my God, I have dad time. And any amount of money in the world couldn't have replaced that love, that connection, that conscious co-creation. Because what the kid needs is love. And if you look at addiction isn't caused by the drug only. It's really lack of connection. If you look at a guy named Gabor Maté and study him, he explains very clearly that this connection is what brings us no longer the need for chemicals, either overeating, overworking, over drinking, or taking whatever drugs or whatever, or sex, or whatever it is we need to fill ourselves with.
Well, Brian, if I may interrupt, but honestly,
mm-hmm.
the person who is addicted and needing drugs, that's exactly what they're needing. They're needing the inner pharmaceutical that comes from the brain. They're needing those drugs that rush through their system in the form of some sort of adrenaline to give them the quote high they're needing, which is the connection. So it's looking for something in the wrong place.
Yeah. But so look at a guy named Gabor, Gabor Maté, Mate, or Mate, or whatever. I don't know how to say his name. But anyway, he'll explain that to you. But basically, that love is what we really need. Love is God, and money is not God. We've been worshiping money, and we've been allowing greed to rule us. When I went to business school, I've got a business degree. Way, yay, woo, right? Business degree. First day of business school, I should have dropped out then. First day of business school, they said the first rule of business is profits for their shareholders, to maximize profits for their shareholders. So there's no ethics, there's no morals, there's no doing good for the world behind any business. It's just making money for their shareholders. So this is the powers of old, or these patterns of old that we've been running. Oh, it's always been this way. Well, it's only for your life, 20 years, 40 years, 60 years, whatever it is. That's the way it seems. Well, look at the Industrial Revolution. Before the Industrial Revolution, we had everybody was chopping wood and carrying water. And you know the spirituality between chopping wood and carrying water, don't you? Someone went to the big high monk or lama and said, what do I do? Holy one, tell me how to learn. Said, well, go chop wood and carry water. And then in a year, I'll tell you. In a year, they came back and said, oh, so tell me the secrets of the world. They said, well, chop wood and carry water some more. And eventually you learn that the secrets of the world are right here, that your happiness is right here. The secrets to life are right here. They're in love and kindness and serving others and being, whatever your version of good is.
Well, if God is omnipresent, which means right here, right now, there's nothing it is not. In fact, there's actually one thing God is not, which is fear. It does not dwell in fear because it has no reality in such energy. So if God is omnipresent and it's right here, right now, then there's nothing else. It's all about being right now. And you cannot be in the eternal right now eternally until you learn to submerge yourself and simply be okay right now, because it's not about a future event. The place we're trying to get to, the 1,000-year journey, when we get there, we will realize we're back in the same place we started because it's about the first step. The first step is the 500-year mark because without the first step, nothing happens. So when we step first, we create 500 years off of our journey. We shave it off. And now we have to do the quote work, which is not really work at all. It's not an effort. When you effort to find God, you've overshot your target. And you will forever overshoot that beautiful, simple target by not realizing it looks just like you when you look in the mirror. There's nowhere to go. There's nothing that needs to be done. There's no prophecy that needs to be filled. You are the living testament. You're the living word. What else is there? There's absolutely nothing. There's only one path. There are many paths to Kroger, to Whole Foods, but there's only one place you get your sustenance.
I'm so glad you spoke about prophecy in 500 years. Can I rant on this just for a second, which is
I dare you.
Over the last 12 years, or actually 15 years, I traveled with a lot of Native Americans over the years, including the Hopi, the Mayans, the Aymara, the Mexicas, and some others. Anyway, and some Tibetans, like the Necheng Oracle. So what happened was there's been a prophecy with most all the Native Americans that like Moctezuma, for instance, was 500 years ago. Moctezuma was down in Mexico area and had one of the richest civilizations in the world. They had gold all over the place. And gold was no big deal to them. And they just adorned their buildings with it, but it wasn't like precious metals. They no big deal. And so when our conquerors that discovered America, right, came, they realized that this entire society didn't have guns because they didn't need guns because war wasn't the biggest deal for them, right? And so with just a handful of guys with guns, they took over the entire society and stole all the gold. And at one point they took Moctezuma, they actually took him too. And supposedly there's this story about Moctezuma's treasure, and everybody was searching for Moctezuma's treasure, and in the lore was it was going to be hidden for 500 years, and so if you look at the dates, it was I think it was 1590 or something like that, and 1584 or something. I don't know what the exact dates. We'll have to look that one up. I'm sorry, and but Moctezuma said, the treasure will be hidden for 500 years. And everybody thought it was a box of gold that was going to be hidden, that the treasure was the gold. But instead, the treasure that has been hidden for 500 years is the culture, the indigenous culture, the indigenous ways. And the indigenous culture and the indigenous ways are actually really cool. If you look up the spirituality of Einstein, in fact, I'll look that up here in a second. He spoke that he believed similar to the Native Americans, where there's fire, water, air, earth. We got to take care of fire, water, air, earth. We need to take care of the world, right? And the planet and each other. And so with this culture that's been hidden, it's now come out recently. And the culture for the leader of the Mayans, in fact, this ring was made by a Hopi friend of mine, Hopi, and he knew that I traveled with the leader of the Mayans, and the leader of the Mayans, his message was that we're all coming together like fingers of the hand. He said that there are 4 root races. There's white people, red people, yellow people, and black people. And these 4 root races are the same colors as the root races that came from the stars, and we're made of the same chemicals as what the stars are made of. We are star people. We're made of the same energy of the stars, and so we're all the same. And he said we're all coming together like fingers of the hand. We all need each other, and we all have to unify and come together as we the people for the planet in order to overcome our world problems and what's causing the world problems, so that we can come together and love one another. And so what cures ignorance is education, and that's done through love and passion and really getting into the deeper and asking questions. Question everything to get there. And so, things that I believe in, that I believed in 20 years ago, I've asked those same questions. Is it really true? And a lot of those things I've evolved beyond. And so life is constant learning. And then my greed, my need for money, I realized that most of the joy has actually been in community. If I actually have a really awesome conscious co-creating community, I don't need a huge amount of money. What brings me joy is the people, and you'll find, how many billions of dollars does it take to be happy? I don't know, but I can tell you that how many, really the question should be, how many homeless people does it take to create one billionaire?
Dig that.
Yeah. And so if we're not taking care of the most in need, what are we doing? How are we judging our society that's great? And then fear, this is all driven by, the fears are all driven by the news media. And those richest few people can keep us feared, and they keep us divided and conquered. The red team's bad, the blue team's bad, hate them, hate them. But really, if you look up, if the red team and the blue team stop fighting each other and start looking up, they'll realize that we all have more in common. We're all getting screwed, by a handful of greedy driven billionaires that do things like put their money, they own destroying the ecology, they own the economy and the banking, they destroy our world through war and violence, and they own the war machine, and they keep us divided and conquered through this racism, and religion and whatever. You should hate all blah blah blahs because they're different than you. So when we looked at the prophecy that the leader of the Mayans, the Mayan high priest, was talking about, there's a film that I was part of making called A Shift of the Ages. It was about 2012. And, leading up to 2012, it was said by kind of vague people that the Mayans all say it's going to be the end of the world, and the Hopi all say it's going to be the end of the world. Well, during that time, you see, this ring was made by a Hopi friend of mine, discussing my relationship with a Mayan friend of mine, and these runs, we went on these 1,800-mile runs together, carrying water we gathered from all around the world, and we did it in order to honor nature, to honor ecology, saying that water around the world should not be privatized, that we need to take care of Mother Earth. We need to love Mother Earth. And that's, when we look at water, look for life on other planets, we look for water. Well, the same amount of water is on this planet as when it was first created. There's a little tiny sheet around this ozone layer around the planet, keeping the water in, and it recycles. And that's it. That's what we got. And that's our life. And so we have to honor and take care of it. So back to this prophecy of the end of the world, the Mayans weren't saying it's the end of the world. The Hopi weren't saying it's the end of the world. In fact, they were both saying it's the end of the world as we know it, meaning ignorance, greed, fears, and these patterns of old that we've been running, and that we're going to create a whole new world for ourselves, one that's in conscious co-creation, in cooperation, in communication, all the codes, two or more.
That is an amazing currency, because everyone is living in the current. See? That is a beautiful place, because it sounds impossible, because as you've been describing, it just seems so tough and impossible, but it's not. It's the prophecy we have been told from the past about a future event that is happening right now. Would that be an honest assessment? Would you agree with that, Brian, that we are seeing something unfold that is, one, we're trying to keep it in balance. We actually some part of us wants to control it, but some part of us actually sees this beautiful thing unfolding. Yeah. Simply, they all correct, and somehow there's some beautiful dance through all this insanity.
Well, leading up to 2012, when everybody was looking for the end of the world, my astrologer friends said that this Mayan calendar, which was like 2,100 years old, this cycle, this grand cycle that ran 2,100 years, that the Mayans actually had it off by 8 years. And that 8 years of being off landed us in 2020. So my astrologer friends did the astrology, and they said, look out, when we get to 2020, that is the real
2012.
Yeah,
exactly.
So,
I saw that, I agree with. Yeah.
So what we're dealing with right now is a breakdown of all of our systems. If you look at the money system,
It's gone.
All the banks are broke, right? So we bail them out first. Well, if you gave the money to the people, they'd put it in the bank. Why are you just giving it to the banks? You know, and it's a Ponzi scheme anyway. If you look at your dollar bill, it says Federal Reserve Bank. Do you know what that is? Look it up. It's where there's a couple of families that own the Federal Reserve, and they're just as federal as Federal Express. They're not U.S. they're
Yeah, right.
a company outside. It's a shell game, and so we write debt off to them, and then they give us these green notes that look like monopoly money with a little pink and a little yellow and whatever, and it looks just like monopoly money, and it's a game they're playing with us, and then we spend it as if it's thing. You notice lately we've had a coin shortage.
Yeah, that's so strange. So here's the thing. Here's this coin shortage.
Yeah.
Did it just simply disappear? Did the coins just simply vanish? Did disintegrate into nothing? So where? In fact, who has pockets in their pants so big that they're hoarding all these coins and they're walking around, and when they walk around, all you hear is zing, 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 zing. Where's this stuff going? I think it's an idea for digital money. I think it's an idea for non-money.
So what do those richest few families want us to do? What do they want us to do? They want us to all to be put all of our banking on our phone, right? And so that digitally we've got all our banking here, and there's no paper currency anymore. It's all digital. We're coin shortage, paper shortage. Okay, you'll do digital banking. Well, guess what? They can erase your entire bank account in a millisecond. In a millisecond. Your life savings gone, you know? And so when you go to the bank right now, and I want to borrow $300,000 to buy this house. All right, so you go to the bank and they say, okay, well, here's all the paperwork, sign here, you owe us $300,000. You're immediately paying debt. You're paying on that debt to the bank. Well, there's something called fractional reserve banking. So please, to the people that believe we need money, look up fractional reserve banking, look up Federal Reserve System, look up the Ponzi schemes behind all that, and then look at this digital currency. What the idea is that you can they can steal all your money, they can tax you right away, they have control over everything in your life, and they can make you go broke in a matter of seconds. That's not cool. There's nothing cool about that at all, you know? And when we pay our taxes, where's all our taxes go to? 60% goes to war. Who owns the war machines? Who creates the war and votes for war and creates the war machines? You know, that would be the richest few, you know? I don't own war machines. I don't have companies doing that, but they own the news. They keep the fear going, you know? And how many billions does it take to be happy? Like, they're trying right now to own all of our education system. And so they've been underfunding education for years. They're trying to get rid of the US Postal Service. What kind of world is that? You know, we can't communicate anymore. You know, that's control again, you know? So the only way to get a package is to do it through Amazon again? One of the richest guys in the world?
There you go.
Come on. No. You know, like, this whole thing is so ugly. So the only thing I want a government for is to supply some basic services. I want a government that'll help me with some security things. So if something was happening, we could call 911 and know that someone's going to help with security.
Sure.
And you can do that in a community. You know, if you lived in the middle of nowhere on an island and you had, you know, all the teenagers kind of watching out for the community. Yeah, that would be it. And that's the way it was done, right? And then, so I want to be able to call 911. I want to be able to call 911 for hospital and for help there. And in some little social services that if I got sick or run over by a car, I get to go to the hospital and get taken care of, and I don't die, you know? And so you want that. You want an education system, you know? And the U.S. used to be the greatest education system in the
Well,
world.
yeah, it's great to know that the system.
Yeah.
What is the system? It's not a government. The system is your broham and your sistar
Mm-hmm.
tribe, globally, collective consciously, always has your back. It's great to know that you have such collective support. But does some spiritual lessons come forth, meaning that you don't need anything? In fact, a new lesson is about to come into your experience to show you that you no longer need. I love the idea of collective support. It creates love, it creates experience as to why we're individuals on this planet. Because when we go back to the Godhead, there is no individuality. So I love collective
And that's conscious
support.
co-creation again. That's
Exactly. Exactly.
The love
Brian, I'm going to take a short pause. Going to be right back. Brian, be thinking about your best outgoing message. Everyone, Keith Anthony Blanchard here, hanging out with he's so lovely, hanging out with Brian Hardin. We're speaking about how to save the world in one easy lesson. We've been talking about that directly, indirectly, but I think the point is just simply be happy. Stop blaming the system. Become empowered. Stand up for something. If you don't, you fall for anything, so forth and so on, and all that cool stuff. Let's see what song I'm going to play. Let's say Joyce. No, how about What Am I Looking For? Going to be right back. Close out Center of Light Radio. Tonight, my guest is Mr. Brian Hardin. We're speaking about how to save the world in one easy lesson. Tomorrow night, my guest on Center of Light Radio is going to be Nakula Doss, and we're going to be speaking about sexual kung fu. Gaga!
Inside.
What am I hoping for? A better
look inside. Where do you go to find your answers? There is a place you haven't tried. Your search for love is taking chances. Have you ever thought to look inside? You hold the key to find your answers. I am the door you have not tried. Never again taking chances. Open your heart and walk inside. Walk inside.
Welcome back to Center of Light Radio. Keith Anthony Blanchard here, hanging out with my bro ham sandwich, Mr. Brian D. Hardin. We're having a great time talking about a lot of deep stuff, a lot of shallow stuff, but deeply, and deep stuff shallowly. We're just kind of just wading in the water, trying to make sense of the senseless. We can never make sense of the senseless. Lavender Soul, you just heard. What am I looking for? Hello, COVID-19. What are you looking for? We're looking for something. Are we looking correctly? Erroneously? What is it we expect to find when we get to the mountaintop? It probably looks just like you. In fact, I'm sure of it. What do you look like in this moment? Are you a bundle of joy? Or you're a sobbing bag of mess? How does life feel to you? Welcome back, my bro ham sandwich, Brian. Brian, I have to take care of a kitty cat. Let's get into our closing exit the zone kind of mode. Thank you for joining me, bro. It's always a blessing to be in your space and your grace. See that sexy face? Thank you, bro. How would you like to lead us out of this time together?
Well, what I was reminded by was the couple of people that asked a question about money. And so what I started off with at one point was to talk about the everybody was chopping wood and carrying water. Like if you rewind, maybe 200-300 years ago, most people didn't have electricity or running water or anything else, because electricity and running water were about 120 years ago or 140 years ago. Please look that one up and see that it wasn't that long ago. And we had the Industrial Revolution at that same time, which meant that we went from coal or wood burning to suddenly electricity. So we once we had electricity, then this Industrial Revolution boomed. We started, if you look at when the airplane and the car and so on was invented, that was about the same time. It was about 120 or 130 years ago. And so suddenly we took care of the physical stuff, mechanisms, body. That's the body of the body, mind, and spirit. That's the body. So we had this industrial revolution of physical shit, of physical stuff. We're building things, and we conquered that. Yay, right? But before that, everybody was chopping wood and carrying water, using horses and buggies and connected to nature, right? So then everybody moved to the cities. We went from country living and growing our own foods and gardens to suddenly needing some places to get better food, and restaurants and whatever started coming available. Well, so we went from this industrial revolution to this information age. That's the mind. So we went from the body to the mind. This information age started with television and telephone and radio, and then eventually became the internet. And when I was growing up, I dreamt of a little black box that I could ask it any question in the world and it would tell me the answer. Well, we got that right now. Everybody's got one of those in their pocket, you know? Yeah, you can go to almost any country of the world, any place, and they've got one of these. Everybody's got one. So information and all the mental stuff isn't as important. I don't need to remember what Babe Ruth's batting average was. I can find it out in a matter of milliseconds, right? I don't need to know details. So we went from the body to the mind, the industrial revolution to the mental, information age revolution. And now we're headed into the spiritual revolution and evolution. Spiritual evolution is where we're at. This is the door. They were talking about the dawning of the age of Aquarius and harmony and understanding. Well, we're here. We've come into this Aquarian age, which Piscean age was the age previous to here. And that was a 2,100 year cycle that we went through, part of the precession of the equinoxes. We were there for 2,100 years in Pisces, and Pisces is one fish right side up and the other fish upside down, and it's about judgment. I'm good, you're bad, I'm good, you're bad, and it creates war. Well, 2,000 years ago, Jesus showed up and said, love one another, do unto others as you would have done to you. That was his message, peace and love and understanding. Well, we didn't listen to him. We still judged. Don't judge. That was one of his messages. Don't judge. Well, what did he do? Judge for 2,000 years. And what did that create? That created war. That created war. That's where we were at, destroying our economy, and not loving one another, right? So here we are in this new opportunity. A crisis is an opportunity for us to learn and grow and evolve. So we're evolving by having problems. Well, it seems like all these problems are showing up all at the same time. And it wasn't just the Mayans or the Hopi that were talking about prophecy. It's all this other talking about prophecy. Well, the prophecy is really deal with your own crap. And if we were just recently had electricity 120 or 130 years ago in cars and planes and automobiles, and then this information age just new, we're new. I mean, if you look at the size of our entire, as far as you look out, the universe, it's supposed to be like 92 billion light years across, meaning the light coming from some star that far away might be billions of years old. It's insane how big this universe we have is, and it's ever growing, ever expanding. And we think we're the only planet in the whole, and Jesus made this one little place called Earth, and nothing else exists out there. Well, if Jesus made this little planet, he wasted a lot of space, because there's a lot of space out there. There's a lot of opportunity for other human beings or other human-like beings, or who knows if an alien's 6 feet tall and weighs 180 pounds, or if an alien's, a little virus. Who knows what it is, So there's alien beings out there all over this universe. And now that we've found Earth-like planets, we don't even know what we don't even know.
And they're against us.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And they hate us.
And they're against us.
Yeah. But we don't even know what we don't even know. We just recently got electricity 120 years ago. Some of these societies might be billions of years old, and they look down on us like we're just like ants. We're cavemen. They don't want to deal with us. We're cavemen, right? So we have to evolve consciously. We have to learn how to come together and stop killing each other and unify and love one another and do what Jesus said. Do unto others as you would have done to you, And so Jesus never promoted ignorance or greed or fear or powers of old, these patterns of old. Jesus or any spiritual leader, Jesus wasn't trying to create Christianity. He
wasn't trying to create followers.
Yeah.
He was not.
Buddha wasn't trying to create Buddhism. He was just trying to spread love, and the Tao Te Ching, Taoism. It was a guy that just spreading love. Read the Tao. It's only 80 some chapters. It's all universal love. Love, 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 love. So what is love? Well, so John Lennon had this quote, and his quote was, "Peace is not something you wish for. It's something that you make, something that you do, something that you are, and something that you give away." And I actually say love, peace, God, and joy are all the same thing. that they are all things that they're all things that we is not what we wish for. We don't wish for love. We don't wish for God. We don't wish for joy. We actually make all of those. We make all of those. We do all of those. We are those, and that we give away. So love is something that you make, that you do, that you are, and that you give away. It's not something you wish for. Oh God, bring me this. No, it's an action. You have to give love to get love. When Jesus said, "Do unto others," he's saying, "Love one another." And what happens is it comes back. And in physics, we have a simple law: for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. So if you want love, oh, I need love, I need love. Well, give it away. If you want smiling, if you want to laugh, give it away. So it's contagious. Everything's contagious. So when I'm smiling here, all of a sudden you're going to smile too, right? It's just contagious. So you give it.
Right.
If you walk in a room and just start laughing for no reason at all, watch everybody laugh. Like it's contagious. But same thing with anger and hatred and fear and all these, and ignorance and greed and argue, blame and complain. They're all low-level things, and it's all contagious. And so right now we're all addicted to the news. We're locked in, and you're going to watch Fox News or CNN or whatever and blame the other guy. And then I'm going to watch the news and find out how many murders happened and then what to be afraid of, And then I'm going to try to go to sleep and get a good night's sleep. No, you're running these patterns as programming for a reason. So how do you reprogramming? How do you reprogram? You start, the love you want, the joy you want, love the joy you want, the God that you're seeking, the peace that you want. It's not something you wish for. You make it. You love it. You are it. You give it away. You do it. So, I always think, what would Jesus do? Would he pass by the homeless guy, or would he stop and talk to him? And if the guy really genuinely needs some help, let's help him, And if there's trash there, pick it up. I don't care if it's not yours, pick it up and take care of it. If someone needs help crossing the road, stop and help them. Because those relationships, it brings you joy, to bring others joy and help them. And so why is it that we're honoring all these greed-filled people that are billionaires, and we're thinking the billionaires have all the answers, and yet they're the ones who cause the problem? They own the news media. They own our government. They donate to both parties. So why are we honoring the greed people, and we're not taking care of the most needy, our veterans, the homeless people, and whatever?
Which actually matters.
Yeah, and instead we're giving all of our money, our tax money is going to war. Why are we okay with 65% of our money going to war? And why are we upset that this guy is living off the government, making $1,000 a month or whatever it is? Big deal. Big deal. They're not the problem. The handful of people that are getting handouts and, faking the system out, you add all that money up, and it's nothing compared to what we spend on war. So I would be more concerned about war. I think war is obsolete. I think love.
Yeah, it's a dead technology. It's, in fact, nobody wants it anymore. In fact, it almost seems like the government itself doesn't want it anymore. It's just so dead. It's just so overplayed and done. Brian, I have to go take care of this beautiful little cat who's meowing at this door. Would you like to leave us with a closing thought? Everyone, I've been posting links to my Broham sandwich, Mr. Brian Hardin, in the room all night. I just posted something else. If you want to contribute to the well-being of Center of Light Radio, Center of Light, there is a donate link there. Make sure you go to Brian D. Hardin's pages, his Facebook, his website, as well as his YouTube link that is in this forum. Make a big stink. Let him know that you trampling all over his page. Brian, leave us with a closing thought that you feel zips up everything from what we're doing.
I always say these things because I run these through my own head every day, and I say question everything, because I know that everything that I believed 20 years ago has been altered. And so, these teams that we believe in, or this religion or whatever else, as you get older, you learn more things. And I think it was Muhammad Ali. He said, if you think the same at the age of 50 that you thought at the age of 20, you just wasted 30 years of your life. So if you're not always challenging yourself and questioning everything, what are you doing? So the number one is question everything. Number two is fear nothing. There's nothing to fear, because every problem or every crisis is an opportunity for us to learn something and grow and evolve. So all these problems that humanity is having right now, our systems collapsing and whatever else, all this is helping us learn and grow, and it's going to help us come together as unify, instead of me and all this greed stuff, and it's just business, and screw you. Instead, it'll be unify, come together, and that's how we get through this. So question everything, fear nothing, laugh more, worry less, because that's the heavies that I carry around. Let go of those heavies off your shoulders. Worry less, love all. And by loving all, that means even the bad stuff, because that's just a lesson, teaching us some lesson. Love it all, but you don't have to hang on to it. You don't have to keep hating it. Once you love it, you transmute it to being, oh, you were a lesson for me. This was a lesson. I don't need to continue hating you. I can let you go and no longer answer the door for you, but I can love that you gave me the lesson, and now I know never to answer the door for that type of situation again, and make it welcome that in. I've grown. And so laugh more, worry less, love all, and then do it with gratitude for everything and everyone. So there's gratitude, because when we're grateful, we're only thinking of yum, what we're grateful for. Yeah. And so when we're thinking of yum, your brain can't think of yum and yuck at the same time. So when you're grateful, you're thinking of all the things that you have to be happy for, and it spins you around the cycle again. Question everything, fear nothing, laugh more, worry less, love all, do it with gratitude, And so I kind of repeat that. Believe me, I've had some really freaking horrible days over the last couple of years. And I just, humanity is about resilience, and the human spirit's about resilience. And the further we get stretched, the stronger we get. They say if it doesn't kill you, it makes you stronger.
All
and
right.
That's what humanity's doing. We're getting stronger, and we're evolving, but we're also coming together as unity. So stop hating the blue team or the red team and start looking up. Look up at the billionaires that have control over your news media, that are programming your mind. Look at each other. I mean, your neighbors are, with the Biden sign or the Trump sign, before they had a Biden sign or Trump sign, they were probably pretty good people.
Still your neighbors,
now
yeah.
You're judging them just because they have a whatever, right? And you've gotten differentiated over the years, And we don't need to do that anymore. We need to realize that we're all mowing the grass and pooping and eating food and taking care of one another, and we all want the same thing: educated and inspired people and community. And we got to do it as all.
Brian, thank you, bro. I love you. I love our time together. I will be seeing
Let's
you
play
in
some
Los
good stuff.
Angeles in the future. Somehow, some way, somewhere, we're going to make it happen. Everyone, Keith Anthony Blanchard, and hanging out with my brother, Mr. Brian D. Hardin, tonight. I've been posting his links, some other things to explore. It's always good to see you. Tomorrow night on Center of Light Radio, I'm going to be interviewing Nikula Doss, and we're going to be speaking about sexual kung fu. Right? I'll be seeing you soon. You are loved beyond measure. What does that mean? It sounds like idol words. Good. You are the idol. You are the American world idol. You are loved beyond measure. If you don't know what that means, and maybe use your time to find the pleasure of exploring what that means. I'm just simply loved beyond measure. You're infinite. There's nothing more important in the universe than you. Never will be. So my software is messing up. Peace, love, and live in the light.